Hello everybody, today I'm going to explain how a text-based composition works. However, you can see there is written composition 1. That means there's also a second type, which will be the free composition, but this is about the text-based composition. Now, the term already suggests that the basis is another text. So you will get a text, you read that text, and you sum up important information. That means your text product will be based on that original text, and your text is a summary. This task will give you 15 credits in your final exam. Content and language matter here. In a text-based composition, you have to explain a quotation. This will be your intro. And you have to sum up an aspect. This will be your main part. What to do? You explain the quote you are given by putting it in your words. That means you do not use the words from the text, but your own words. And it's important to relate the quotation to the text. So you do not just explain by giving general information from your own knowledge, but you please stick to the text. And you will do that in your introduction. Now your main part will be longer and it will consist of further examples of what is asked in the task. So you please find out which aspects you are looking for by looking at the task. And of course, you also give a conclusion. So there is a certain structure you use. You do not give your personal opinion. However, if you want to do so, you can do that in your free composition, but not in your text-based composition. You do not explain the quote by saying something like the quote means that, because there are many better ways how to do this, and I'm going to show you how you can do it. And you do not sum up the entire text, but you please check out your task. The task will tell you which aspects you need. There are two sample tasks given here. The first one focuses on gender equality. Number 8. How far are European countries from putting men and women on an equal footing? You can see this has been taken from a text. Your task would be explain the quotation in relation to the text and then summarize further examples mentioned in the text. The second task, B, looks similar. They said fracking was the answer to all our energy problems. So this is about a method how to get fossil fuels. This has also been taken from a text. Explain the quotation in relation to the text. The first step will always be similar. The first step will always look like this. However, then there are differences, and then summarize further opinions expressed in the blog. That means here you would have a blog and you would have different opinions of different people and you have to sum up. Alternatives could be advantages and disadvantages of something. There could also be reasons for something or consequences of a certain development. There could be problems mentioned in a text. There could be solutions. Of course, there are other possibilities as well, so it's always important to check out your task. Now, to get a better picture, a better understanding, we're going to check out one example. Now, this would be an original text. This is the blog we were talking about. This is Spokane Jenny's environment blog. Is fracking really the answer to all our energy problems? We will start to read. Do you remember what the gas company executives said about fracking a few years ago? They said it was the answer to all our energy problems. Now, if you remember correctly, this is your quote. This was the quote given. Here it says it. That's the reason why the word fracking is given in brackets in your task, in your quote, but it's the same quote, right? So here you have the quote you need to explain. And if you go on, you also find out how, because it says, they said it was the answer to all our energy problems. Now you have to explain why was it considered to be an answer to energy problems. And here it goes. They said it was going to be a bridge fuel that would help us to reduce coal and oil emissions while we slowly change our energy supply to renewables. They said fracking cost half the emissions of coal, and it goes on and it goes on, right? So here you can find the explanation that you need in your introduction. So you use that to explain. Right, and then you go on. I'm not going to read the whole text to you. If you're interested, you can go to your English books, and that's page 64 and 65. Here you will find the text. So this is Jenny's opinion, but there are also other opinions given in the text. For example, there's a comment by Wall27, Susie Q, Philly the Kid, and so on. Some of them agree, like Walt. He agrees with Jenny, but some of them do not agree. So you read the whole text and you find out about the opinions mentioned. And this is what you need for your main part. So ideally, you would come to something like this. Here again, we have the task, explain the quotation in relation to the text, and then summarize further opinions expressed in the blog. They said fracking was the answer to all our energy problems. Now, let's check out the intro. Fracking seems to be a controversial topic as opinions on this energy source differ. Now, you start out by giving some general information by giving some general introductory sentence. Here, it makes perfect sense to talk about fracking being a controversial topic because there are different opinions, because you also have to talk about opinions, right? So this is a good way to start out. Whereas the author, Spokane Jenny, speaks in favor of getting onto renewable energies and not rely on fracking. Others say that fracking was the answer to all our energy problems. Here, the quote is given again. You can do that. You can use the quote in your text, but then you please also use quotation marks and you give the line. That's really important. You can also use other quotes from the text, but you should always remember to give lines. Also, if you just paraphrase. So if you take ideas from the text, if you use your own words, but you take ideas from the text, you paraphrase. You prove where you have found it, right? Okay. Now, and here's the explanation. Because it serves on the one hand as a bridge fuel until renewable energies are more efficient, and on the other hand, it's said to be a green energy source helping to reduce coal and oil emissions. So here you have your explanation. And then the last sentence should be a transition, because you connect your introduction and your main part here. The conflicting opinions of both supporters and opponents of fracking will be summarized in the following. It neatly connects introduction and main part. Now, as you can see, your main part should also be structured. You can start out with one side. This is Jenny's opinion and the opinion of the people who agree with her, and this is the other side. On the other hand, so this is the opinion of supporters of fracking. However, you always give lines. You do not add any information, you take everything from the text and you give lines. And as you can see, there are also links. You use linkers, right? Something like that. So if you go through the text, you will find more linkers like that. Of course, you have a conclusion as well. You can start out by saying something like, as we can see from the text, right? So you go back to the text, you sum up what you have been said. You do not simply repeat, but you wrap it up neatly. You put it in a nutshell. There are different opinions, they clash, and there's not just one solution, right? It becomes clear that fracking is highly disputed. This is the essence of the text. This is what you find out. Now, ideally, this should be your text-based composition. Now, to make sure you have understood the most important elements, I'm going to point out some things again. We take a look at the left-hand side. It's all about the text-based composition. You explain in how far the text relates to the given topic. State the given quotation related to the whole text and bring it into suitable context. You mention the task to close your introduction. This is all about your intro. Everything happens in your intro. You use high-style words like summarize, like explain, characterize to show that you have understood your task and to show that you can express yourself clearly. You find examples exclusively from the text. You do not add any ideas or arguments. You structure your text in paragraphs. Although your text-based composition will be shorter than your free composition, you use transitions, you use linkers. You do not copy from the text, but you paraphrase. And of course, you can use quotations, but then you use quotation marks. And you always give lines, right? Line numbers. In the conclusion, you give a brief summary. Do not give your personal opinion. Do not evaluate, do not assess anything. This is neutral. You just sum up. Now, here are possible tasks again. Explain the quotation in relation to the text and give examples, summarize, describe. So the beginning, the first step is always the same. And now it's time to practice.